just in regular life, non-athletes and non-coaches,
Yeah.
just smart people you come across where, you talk about, fitness, and along with working out comes injuries, and along with injuries comes surgeries and PTs, and those things have been great teachers for me too, and patience, and just, okay, this happened, can't control it, what can I do now? It's cliche. People roll their eyes because they think it's just like psychobabble or sports psychology or life psychology 101, but it's so true. If you're going to marinate in something and whine about it, even silently to yourself, you're not moving forward. You're not learning from it properly. You're not growing from it. And I've always believed that all experience equates to growth, right? And sometimes the more unpleasant or the more intense the experience, more the opportunity for growth. Again, people are going to roll their eyes, but that's what life is.
So what year did you start, I guess, doing this in general, where you were in the industry?
Yeah, right out of school, but I was one of those kids that was lucky enough, I guess, to know what I wanted to do since I was about 10 years old. My grandmother got me into sports. She was a huge sports fan. We lived in Illinois at the time. She listened to Cubs games on the transistor radio in a chair in her backyard of her apartment building. And we got dropped off there, my brother and I, a lot. My parents were busy and they were not sports fans. So I came to sports through my grandmother. Cubs, Blackhawks, Bulls, the Chicago area teams, and listening on the radio mainly, but sometimes on TV, and hearing just the crowd explode after a home run or a goal. I thought, wow, there's a lot of joyful people there. What would that be like to be able to convey the excitement of a live sports event to people who are that ready to be joyful, and it was that simple. And so I had this idea that this is what I wanted to do. Now, we can get into this because one of my philosophies is you don't have very concrete, specific goals. I never would have imagined at 10 years old that I'd be calling the championship events in college football and tennis. That wasn't even close to a dream. So I did a lot of stuff, though, where I was preparing to be in the industry throughout high school, college, worked my way through college, needed the money, needed jobs, and did a lot of media jobs, whatever I could do to get reps, meet people, and get ready. So when I got out of college, I was actually working already at a major market TV station in Denver, which is down the road from Boulder, where I went to college. So, that got me ready. You throw a tape out there as your resume, ESPN somehow finds it and calls me up, and I'm 11 years old, appearing on camera. I looked like such a kid. They were not going to put me on SportsCenter. They had this high school sports show in mind. So I did that for 2 years, Scholastic Sports America at ESPN, and it was a good baptism because ESPN at that time, remember, 7 years old, wasn't the worldwide leader in anything. So getting in the door was much easier then than it is now. And they hired someone like me that didn't have much experience. And then 2 years later, after the high school show, I found myself working sidelines in college football, and that worked its way into being a reporter, hosting game day, and that whole thing. So it's been 38 years now at one company, which is another thing. You have no idea. That's almost impossible, to even imagine one employer for 38 years. So you never know how it's going to work out when you jump into this. I don't think you even try to figure out. I think you just jump in, try to improve, and go forward.
Right. That's just a great philosophy for life, right? Just, build the parachute on the way down and figure it out, right? So, so you started, how long had you been into it? I know you said it, but I think
86 was when I got to ESPN.
Okay. Understood. Because, I've been telling a fib and saying that, well, I saw Chris Fowler when he started around 99. I didn't realize it was that back then. And
you're a little late, but that's okay. Nobody watched Game Day in the early years, I promise you. And that was a show I started doing in 1990, mostly in the studio at that time, and very low ratings. We kind of had the chore and the joy of building it brick by brick. You don't get many opportunities in life to build something almost from scratch. We had been on a few years, not to insult the first host on it, but we just didn't have any traction. And so we were able to build it up. So I would say about late 90s is when we really got momentum with the show, or mid 90s.
Yeah. I remember, I know I remind you of this a few times, but to me, it was a great moment because I love watching people as they come into their own and they become huge personalities like yourself. I'm sure you don't look at yourself that way, but you certainly are. I'm at the Hula Bowl in Hawaii in '99, and I'm hanging out with Chris Brown from the Texans, who's a great person, great player, very very athletic for his position. You
Yeah.
know, you don't meet a lot of kickers like that, right? And we're kind of by the pool, and it's Hawaii, and it's the Hula Bowl, and it's this incredible experience. And Chris is talking about, his wife and everything, and you said, you love being there because it's so beautiful, but you kind of miss back home. And wherever the conversation went, you said, you started seeing someone, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, that's really great. And I was thinking about my girlfriend at the time, and then I reconnected with you 25 years later, at Anatomy in South Beach, and I said, oh, whatever happened to that girl? And you said,
We just celebrated our 25th,
congrats. And I was
Thanks.
like,
Yeah,
what?
99 was when we got engaged. So now, was that Hula Bowl? Was that in Maui or Honolulu? Because it
It
was
was
both places. The bowl moved from
yeah,
Honolulu to Maui.
I'm pretty sure it was Maui.
Yeah, I think you're
Pretty
right
sure
in
it was
that era. They had
Maui.
moved it to Maui in that kind of a cow pasture field where
Yeah, that's
you
right.
wondered why anybody's agent would allow them to play an all-star game on that field when you're
I'm
trying to
thinking,
get ready for the draft.
I said, well, where's the field we're going to play on? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, this is the practice field. They said, no, this is the field. I was like, this is
I
crazy.
remember
I mean,
Ricky Williams in that game. Ricky's an interesting character. I don't know if you know him, but he went to the Hula Bowl. He would not go to the sidelines. He won the Heisman Trophy. Okay, he's
yeah,
obviously going to get drafted high,
that's right.
and he would not come off the field. He carried the rock like 25 times on
I
that
remember
field,
he
and
did.
somehow got out alive. And I thought,
He
wow,
did.
there's a dude who's legit. Like he just loves it because he did not need to do that. I'm sure there are people in
Man,
the news there saying, "What are you doing
I
on
know.
that cow
I
pasture?"
know.
When
I
the
know.
draft was coming up, and he didn't care. He just wanted
Yeah.
the ball, and you see that was an early idea about what you're going to run into in the sport when you cover. You're going to run into guys who are all in,
Hmm.
who just love ball. You're going to run into it to guys they like the idea of
Hmm.
playing football more than the actual thing, right? And
That's
and
right.
their commitment is maybe not as complete.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, Ricky, you said it, perfectly. Ricky Williams is like the prototype, not only in stature, because he's very strong. I think he was 5'10", like
Yeah,
225, 230, but he was also like passionate about the game.
yeah,
And you could see that when he got the ball. I mean, this
yeah.
guy was like, let's go. And it was exciting to watch him.
And you know what?
Exciting.
Yeah, and I'm sure when you played, college and pro, that's the thing now that more and more personnel people are looking for. Do you love the game? Do you have a passion for it? Because if you do, they can work with that, right? You're at the Patriots, right? For some,
Yeah.
that's a Belichick thing, but a lot of other coaches are now doing that. And I think in recruiting in college ball, where the agendas are often very individual, like what
Mhm.
can you do for me? How can you
Mhm.
help me? How it's a transactional
Yeah.
relationship,
Oh yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Obviously, it's transactional in the pros to a great degree
Mhm.
because it's a job.
Mhm.
But now in college, it's also a job and it's very
Yeah.
transactional. So if guys don't have that passion, that love for ball, you know, coaches start to go, down the line, this could be tricky. If you're all
That's
in, if
right.
you love it, if you love the
That's right.
process, um, then the forecast is much brighter.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think in we're getting a lot of our questions answered when you go through the draft and you see a guy didn't get picked where he's supposed to be picked, and
Yeah,
you're wondering like what transpired. And as you said, Chris, it's usually this guy, like, he's awesome talent, he's built for it, kind of wants to play. That's a big red flag. I mean,
we could.
you know,
You're much younger than me, but we could older guys talking about the current generation. We could go on for and bore the shit out of people on this topic because you hire people. I see them, and it's really sort of like a sense of entitlement a little bit. You see it in football all the time because these guys, basically in football and hoops, have been told you're great. They've been
Mhm.
enticed to switch teams and go play. It's almost like play for pay at a really young age, even AAU and
Mhm.
in high school. And so, they arrive and they've succeeded in college, and now it's time to get paid, and they feel like rather than having to prove themselves all over again, which is, as you know, is a much different level than
Mhm,
college
mhm,
ball. They act
mhm,
entitled,
mhm,
like now it's my time. I've done this, so now this is owed to me. Well, they
mhm.
get it. A lot of them get a rude awakening.
Yeah, yeah. It's certainly a rude awakening at the pro level because they'll fix it quick. It's almost like going, a guy committing the wrong crime going to jail, right? They know exactly who you are, and they'll figure it out quick, and they'll fix it quick. So it's in one thought, Chris. It's if it was me, I mean, I wanted to play because I love the game, but I also wanted to earn so I could help my mother. I can't really blame them. However, I think there's got to be some sense of loyalty still locked in there. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think if you can get a nucleus of those guys on a team, you're going to have a very special team.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm fully for the players getting what's due them. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
for decades and decades, they were exploited and did not share in the immense amount of money that's flowing into the sport. So I'm all for that. And I understand taking care of your family first.
yeah, of
Absolutely.
course.
But I think some people forget that the best way to do that, to not just get her a car or a house now with a little NIL money, but to
Yeah,
build wealth is to do
right.
your job as the best way you can. Because the better
Yeah,
you do your job, the better you can take care of everybody. And a
yeah,
lot of guys, they're young people, dude. I get it. They
yeah,
think very short term, and
yeah,
you can't count on years and years in football, as it's over like that, and it's so you want to get yours when you can. But I just think if you're gonna try to better yourself as a player, that's the mission. Not just boom, get your mom something now, then you don't ever develop reach your potential. You're out of the game really quickly, and that money goes away really quickly, doesn't it?
oh yeah, oh yeah. I remember my first year with New England. There was a free agent rookie linebacker, and by the way, the guy could play, but he was a linebacker, and he was about 5'10", 5'11", about 215, and there are the Dexter Coakleys of the world, but then there's everyone else. And he was saying, man, this guy bought a Bentley before training camp started, and I was thinking, ooh, that's gonna be a heavy lift, man. I remember saying, mistake number one, and thank God I got that lesson via someone else. But do you see it changing? Do you see, when I say changing, do you see more maturity with people coming in, managing their life? College football players that are organized and somewhat more mature, is that going away, coming back? What do you see?
That's a good question. I think for a lot of guys, yes, because you have to be able to manage things at a much younger age, and hopefully you get good guidance because nobody knows. I mean, we're all clueless when we're that age. I wouldn't want to vouch my maturity when I was a young person. I
No.
make a lot of mistakes, but I think that you grow up quickly, and
Hmm.
hopefully you go to a place with humility. I think life is a mix of humility and ego because you got to believe you can do it. You got to have that
Hmm.
belief, and you got to step into a very difficult situation, whether you're going to a big time college program or the NFL, and believe that you belong and project
Hmm.
that. And if not, convince yourself. But you also have the humility to go to work and grind and do it. And I think a lot of guys have the first part, but not the second part yet. And then you get humbled because, as you know, football will humble you more than anything. And you're going to get knocked down and you're going to get a rude awakening and wake up call, whatever, at whatever level you move up to. So I
Hmm.
hope that the guys have the maturity. I think that, again, uh, it's tough because you get there, you have a good freshman year, and boom, your agent, because they have them, your parents, the people around you in your orbit who outsiders deem to be close to you are going to
Hmm.
bombard you with offers. And so the
Oh
temptation
yeah.
is almost like it's unrestricted free agency, right? Like in the NFL, you got to serve out your rookie contract before you can go get paid somewhere else, right? Well, not in college. You can
No.
take NIL money, sign, and then never even play a game for that team, and then you're somewhere
Hmm.
else for a freshman year, then you're somewhere else for a sophomore year, and it's just the Wild West right now. It's the
Hmm.
unintended consequences of a system that needed to change to allow them
Yeah.
to move around with some freedom,
Right.
but now it you really have to when you're like me, like, all right, I got my chart for this game. Like, is this still a roster? Like, are we good? Or has anybody jumped in the portal
Yeah.
here since the last game? Because I saw them on tape, but I don't see them on the practice field. Oh no, they're out. I mean, that's just the weekly reality for me, and I think for coaches who got to re-recruit their roster. I think what's tough, Mark, is when you're going to get knocked down. You have to pay your dues and improve. And do guys have the patience to do that? Or if they don't get touches in the first 3 games, is their brain already like, all right, I'm on to the next place because I didn't get the instant gratification that I expected and that I've always gotten. So,
yeah, with that said, Chris, I have two kind of questions. Do you see, like, you have a kid who's going to go to Alabama, for example, and he's going to go to Alabama knowing that the 2 guys in front of him at running back are like superstar running backs, but he's the third, and he'll get his time when his time comes. But as you said, I don't see that kid waiting anymore. And is that the coach's responsibility? Is that on the kid to be more patient? What do you think?
well, one of it is a business decision. Like if you're third and you have the 2 guys in front of you who've already played some college football,
Yeah.
you're going to pay the new guy more than that. I mean, that's the problem that these coaches and the collectives have in trying to structure the salary of a college football team. And so in general, the third guy in Alabama can go play right away somewhere else. And you talk to Kalen DeBoer there, Kirby Smart at Georgia, Ryan Day at Ohio State, the programs that have the luxury to stockpile talent and recruit great classes every year, they're getting poached because the guy is not going to wait his turn and make no money at one place when someone else is dropping a bag and saying, you know what, you look like our RB1, come over here and we got you. And again, that's human. I don't blame them for it. It just makes it harder to have the kind of depth for those top programs, and the coaches complain about it, but it also means that the talent is spread around and you get some parity. And when the playoff format continues to expand, it makes it pretty entertaining that talent is everywhere now.
Yeah. And as a coach, you don't have the ability to not participate in it. You gotta do it.
Right. You can be old school and then you're going to see over time that, Dabo Swinney at Clemson, coaches at Iowa, there's certain programs that have been really old school and held out and not gotten involved in the portal that much. And but then when you try to compete, it's difficult to do that over time. You have to be willing to play the game with the modern rules.
Yeah, for sure. It certainly makes it, as you said, Chris, harder to prepare for like game day and things of that nature. You're like, who's on the field? I'm not so sure. But that being said, you have the best seats in the house with College GameDay, and that you took that role on, and you're awesome at it. But what's that like walking into a college and getting all that energy? It looks pretty amazing to be up there.
Yeah, that's when we built that show, when it wasn't a road show. And then we started taking it on the road slowly in 93, 94, 95. And then by the time the late 90s, we were on the road every week. And that's like, that's a thrill that's hard to find anywhere else. Talking to a piece of glass is cool. But when you have 10, 15,000 people behind you going crazy, they're a component to the show. Everybody on the set from Desmond Howard, Kirk Herbstreit, Lee Corso, and others, feel that energy. That was tough to step away from, I'll be honest with you. I mean, because you just can't duplicate that. I mean, calling games is what I've always wanted to do. Yeah. Like I said, when I'm 10 years old, I don't think, hey, I'm going to go to a pregame show and set the day up. I mean, I felt that at a certain point, setting the table was awesome, but I wanted to serve the meal. So, it wasn't easy to step away. But every Saturday night, a lot of times we're at the same place where game day is, and I get to call that big game. And, that's really the juice for me, man. Because you do what, and there you're talking about, as we know, football is sort of like theater at the biggest possible scale, at least in American sports. Yeah. I love soccer too, and I've been to a lot of big soccer matches around the world. But in America, it's even bigger than the NFL in terms of the atmosphere and the scope and the scale of the stadium and the fan craziness. So that's also really addictive. And the energy comes from that. And the challenge also provides whatever juice the crowd doesn't. The idea that you got these huge rosters, like I said, it's very fluid. I do some NFL games on the backup Monday night games. So I do about 5 or 6 games, get called the Super Bowl for an international feed. And then about 6 guys are going to touch the ball, right? And the main guys making tackles are going to be, you just learn about 6 or 7 dudes who are likely to get involved. And then the rest of the team. But in college, I mean, with the offenses, you got 11, 12 guys touching the ball. You got dudes might have been casually mentioned in a production meeting. This guy's got some ability, so he's starting to look good in the practice field. He's done nothing in games. You don't see him on tape, and all of a sudden on Saturday night, like he's making catches, running around. Wait, what?
Yeah.
What do we got on him? So that's just that's the world of and the challenge of college football. But that keeps you going, and you need to be sharp
Right.
because it is, I think, more challenging than calling NFL games,
Mhm.
and certainly a different kind of challenge than calling any other sport.
Yeah, you know that guy, that 12th guy gets the ball, and he had you had no idea he was going to get the ball, and he kind of just lost his red shirt, and he's coming off the
He might have
field, right?
changed numbers since last week, right? That's
Exactly.
all the kind of stuff that happens in college football.
Chris, I don't think people appreciate the fact that you know who that person is, you know their parents, you know what they did in practice, you know how they were in their
We
way on the
try,
field.
man. It's that, but you
It's
try, man. Nobody's
unbelievable.
perfect, but there have
It's
been
super.
times when we're like, okay, you ask, okay, now if this guy gets hurt, who's your quarterback two? You got to know that. That's easy.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
if you get a QB3? And that's happened, man. That's happened in like the Rose Bowl. Like Utah's
Mhm.
down to like the third quarterback, and we're like, what do we? He grew up in a farm town. What is he? What did he do? He's only played once this year, and it was against Southwest Oregon. What? And all of a sudden, he's in the Rose Bowl, and he's on the stage, and he's got to win the game, and that does happen in this sport. And then don't get me wrong, you're scrambling. You do homework, but
Yeah,
you're not
yeah.
prepared for like, all right, he's the third guard who's going to swing over here and start and have to block this monster on the other side. And now he's in the spotlight. We're trying to figure out who this dude is.
Yeah, yeah. You better not mess up his life story because
Because
mom's going to be
it's a
right.
huge moment for him. Right?
That's right.
You feel some responsibility. His parents, his kids. Wait, he's in the game. Oh, shit, come on. And like
Yeah.
he's got his time to shine, and you don't want to like mispronounce his name or not know what's going on with
Oh,
him. So.
100%. Hey, by the way, and if you do him justice, you just have his whole family tree is a huge fan of yours, right?
Oh,
They're
yeah.
like, Chris Fowler's the man. That was great.
But I think it's cool to have that. It means so much to so many. And
Mm,
I love the NFL. It's the sport at the highest level, and to get to cover guys on Sundays that I've covered in Saturdays, or guys that maybe I didn't even cover in college. I never called it Mahomes' game at Texas Tech. They just were not on the radar that high, and so to get to know him a little bit, and Ben Roethlisberger when he was, I didn't cover the MAC when he
yeah,
was
yeah.
playing in college, and so that's really cool for me to meet these guys and hang out. And then it's also really cool to reconnect with guys that you covered on Saturdays, because then you see them as these, wiser, more mature, total pros. And I get to see that in tennis too, by the way, where they go from teenagers to
Yeah.
38-year-olds, which is
Yeah.
what Djokovic is now. So, that arc is kind of cool for me, because in college, you get to know them and then they're gone. Then they move on,
Mm,
and then you just become fans of theirs, watching them on Sundays, and that is a challenge in the sport.
yeah. Yeah.
You watch them burn really brightly for a short amount of time, and then they're on. Here comes the next wave.
Hmm. Hmm. Are there any, um, what college football venue would you say is the most wild scene that you're like, wow, this is like chaos. It's wild out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them. The big palaces in the SEC, as you know.
Yeah.
The easy, quick answer is LSU, because they play most of their big games at night. The fans are
Yeah.
hammered. I mean, they've been getting ready all day or all week or all year. And so when we show up to these games, we're lucky enough to see one of the games of the season at that venue. So we
Right.
get the best that LSU has to offer,
Mhm.
or Tennessee, or any of the places in the SEC. The whiteout at Penn State, when we call Big Ten games, I mean, you're
Mhm.
seeing
Mhm.
an event in the lives of players, coaches, and fans. And so
Mhm.
you realize you're parachuting in for some amazing moment. And I never took that for granted. The Red River rivalry, when Oklahoma plays Texas, it's not a night game, but it's 50-50 down the middle of the Cotton Bowl. And no matter what
Yeah.
happens on the field, one side is going crazy with joy, the other side is pissed off or in agony
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
there. And that is a
Yeah.
very unique thing. So I don't ever take for granted the environment in college football. I think that's what separates it from other sports. And our crew does a great job at capturing with cameras and mics and what's going on around the game. Our first game is in one of those places. Okay, LSU
Yeah.
visits Clemson, and Clemson's another place when they run down the hill after touching the rock and it goes
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, that's just, you don't find that really anywhere else in the world of sports on that scale. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think about it now already. I get excited.
Yeah, it's exciting and it's coming. Chris, I'm hitting you with a tough question early, but what was one of the most memorable college football moments that you were calling and you were like, wow, that was incredible and you're like a huge part of it?
You know, it's really flattering. It's a source of joy for me to be able to be a part of documenting a lot of big events, and so your
Mhm.
voice is sort of the soundtrack on it. If people find it on YouTube years later, your voice is attached to that event. So that's certainly the case of championship events, and I've called every championship game in college football since the 2014 season, and at least half of the total playoff games that have been played in the playoff era. And
Mhm.
but I think to answer your question, like it's the stuff that's exceptional and has an emotional layer you don't expect. Purdue shocked Ohio State once,
Mhm.
and nobody expected it. It was a primetime game, and the
Mhm.
subplot of the game was there's a Purdue student called Tyler Trent who was a super fan of Purdue, who
Mhm.
became like the team mascot. He was the guy that like slept out for 2 days to get those front row student section seats. And Tyler was a cancer patient.
Yeah.
And cancer has touched my life ever since I lost my dad when I was in high school. And so his story, which had been talked about a lot on game day and written about, in this game, he was really struggling and battling. He was not doing well, and his family did not think he was going to be able to get out of bed and get from Indianapolis to West Lafayette for the game. But he did. He rallied to it. He was there that night, and Purdue. It was almost like a movie. You do these games
Mhm.
sometimes. You figure, wait a minute, this is this real? Like, is this actually
Yeah.
happening, or is this
Mhm.
some Hollywood scriptwriter? And Purdue made every play, blasted Ohio State. The place was going berserk. It was unhinged, and I was getting choked up because we were showing Tyler this was his. I hate to say it, but dying wish to see Purdue beat Ohio State. Um,
Wow.
and they did, and they wheeled him in a chair down to the field, and then near the end of the game, toward the locker room. Ooh, man, I get choked up every time I talk about it, Mark. Every single time, because
Yeah.
it's just bigger than football, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
when you get a chance to be there for that moment, there's been other games like that where there's been emotional layers on top of what's going on. After September 11th, we would do shows and games at Service Academies closed to the public, and that would have a power that was way different than the average game. So those
Mhm.
kinds of things are not what people think of,
Right.
because they weren't watched by 20 million people. There wasn't a trophy
Yeah.
in the building for that, but
Yeah.
those things stick with me.
That's a beautiful moment, man. What a special moment
Yeah,
for him and his family, and honestly, just Purdue like pulling it off. I mean, I always think that people have superpowers when there's special circumstances, as you said, layered behind
yeah.
the push in the team. That's
Yeah, the
special. That's really
inspiration that
special.
night was just, again, it wasn't really about X's and O's, right?
Mhm.
It,
Mhm.
it was about something bigger and something greater. And I think those
Mhm.
guys sort of meeting the moment and doing what nobody thought was possible. And
Mhm.
yeah, it was just fun. I will never forget that feeling.
Yeah.
If anybody wants, it's still on YouTube. You can still find highlights of that game, and
Yeah.
you can even in a clip you can feel the energy from that stadium and from that team.
No, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. You have special moments like that, and then you spend so much time with players, and the players that just transcend the sport and are incredible athletes, incredibly productive. Um, Maybe who's the player that you could recall like just beyond dominant, and you were like, this guy is unconscious. Who is this person? What player
Yeah,
would that
that's a
be?
good question. Because I've been around a long time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I
when
was
you
thinking
start talking
Desmond
about
Desmond
people,
Howard. I was thinking Desmond Howard.
yeah, he's in the mix. Yeah, for sure. I mean, the best player I ever saw with my own eyes was Barry Sanders at Oklahoma State in the late '80s.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I was just reporting. I was doing sidelines on games, and yeah, that's the year when he ran for 2,600 yards in an 11 game season. Like wrap your head around that, and was totally unstoppable, and did all the same things there that he did for the
Yeah,
Lions and beyond.
yeah.
And so Barry was just at another level. I think I
Mhm,
saw Randy Moss at Marshall. Impossible for people to stop him. There's no
mhm,
way that the thundering herd opponents were going to throw a dude out there who could cover him. They couldn't cover him on Sundays, right? So
That's
you
right.
see guys that stick out, and I'm old enough to see Hugh Green. Like, you got a special place in your
Oh
heart
yeah.
for pass rushers, for guys who dominate from that
Yeah.
side of the ball. And so,
Yeah.
you know, over the years I've seen, from Clowney to just on down the line, guys who have been, the most dominant players at that position too. I don't
Mhm.
leave defensive players out. Honey Badger
Mhm.
just retired. Seeing him at LSU, just do things that you're not supposed to do when you're that size.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
he's a
guys
great player.
who you show so much heart, and that so much of themselves has been put into this, because
Mhm.
talent's great. You got to have the measurables. You got to have the talent, but the list of guys who have the talent but don't go anywhere, don't make the most of it, is
That's
much
right.
longer than the ones who
That's
do,
right.
as you know.
That's right. And just watching it on TV, sometimes we'll be out and my wife will get upset. She's like, "Why can't we watch the game?" I said, "I can't watch the game near these people because they're just ripping players and they're screaming at them. And it bothers me deeply because I know that kid, thousands of sprints in the weight room and being exhausted and fatigued and tired and sick and keep pushing, just watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, respect it, and I think there's a lot to
We
respect.
try we try to give as best sense we can. We see snapshots of that. We're not there
Yeah.
around the team all the whole
Yeah.
time. Try to give a sense of what they put into it, and that's why covering championship events is cool. I don't want to downplay
Mhm.
that. I mean, when the trophy is there and these guys are realizing the dream, that's why it's been cool for me to call the last couple Super Bowls, because there's the ultimate goal in football, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so when someone's dream is coming true, and all of what they put into it over the years is on display and then rewarded,
Mhm.
that's what I love, and that's what I love about tennis too, where it's the opposite of football. It's very
Mhm.
individual, but behind
Mhm.
that person is a team and parents and coaches who've helped them get to the Wimbledon final. And when they win the
Yeah.
trophy, it's a sense of individual achievement, but you also know what's gone into it. And football, I think, is the most collective sport that there
Yeah.
is. And so it's really cool to be able to be there at the end when the confetti is falling. I mean, these guys
Yeah.
are down on the field doing snow angels in the confetti.
Yeah. 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 Well, talk about two sports that couldn't be, when in regards to effort and athleticism, of course, but you do tennis, football. I mean, they're so different. You're a great athlete in yourself.
Oh, come on
How,
now. Wait a minute. I'm
we're gonna
Scott
get
Pruitt.
into that. We're gonna get into that, but I mean, they couldn't be more different, Chris. So is that challenging for you to do, this at the opposite ends of the spectrum there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to brag on tennis for a minute, and a lot of people's eyes are going to glaze over watching this. But it's such an incredible test for an athlete. Okay, athletic ability is now required to be at the top of the game, much
Mhm.
more than it was in the past. Maybe you could get away with being an average athlete with a big serve, or you have to have the whole toolbox now. If you're gonna battle Carlos Alcaraz, Yannick Sinner, and these guys who are the 23 and 22-year-old kings of the sport right now on the men's side, you have to have the whole package. You have to have athletic
Mhm.
ability, twitchy, explosive, but you have to have the skills too. You say, oh,
Yeah.
well, like, it would have been awesome to see like LeBron with a racket. Yeah. But
Yeah.
does he have the touch? Does he
Yeah.
have the racket skills? And I think these guys, it's really one of the ultimate tests of an athlete mentally, because you are out there alone. You can get coached now legally, but you're still basically out there alone. And it can be a
Mhm.
very lonely place. And you do a match like the Wimbledon women's final.
Oof.
6-love, 6-love. She's
Mhm.
reaching Amanda Anisimova, an American, reaching the biggest match of her life. You freeze. You can't do
Yeah.
anything. It's irrelevant the game plan you had and what you can do as a player, because your mind is not letting you do anything just because of nerves. And then the games begin to pile up, and she hasn't got on the scoreboard yet. And at the end, it's an historically lopsided final, and it's so tough to watch. What do you say?
Yeah.
And that's where
Yeah.
tennis is different. Yeah, I
Yeah.
covered Georgia absolutely demolishing TCU in a
Mhm.
championship game. You're never going to see a championship event, I don't think, in any sport that lopsided.
Yeah.
But there was 80 some guys out there sharing the embarrassment, just
Yeah.
like the other side, they
Yeah.
were sharing the joy. And in tennis, man, it must be an incredibly lonely place out there when it's just you. and you
Mhm.
can't show what you've got because you're getting in your own way, right?
Yeah. Two things I mean, by the way, Amanda was a longtime anatomy member.
Yeah.
Long time anatomy
She
member.
says, I saw you at the gym. I said, well, how come you didn't say hello? We can get into this because you just look so locked in. Said, yeah, I was locked in, but I mean, I know you, and you must. I don't know if you saw the match. I felt bad for her. She still lives down in
Yeah.
Miami where we live, and
Yeah.
she still goes there occasionally. She used to go to the older version of
That's right.
anatomy. I know,
That's right. That's
but
right.
I think that when you know the person and you know this might be something that's going to be super challenging to overcome mentally going forward. I
Yeah.
think she's
Yeah.
good enough and strong enough. I hope to God she can bounce back and have a great run at the U.S. Open and beyond, because
Mhm.
that is the thing about that sport, man. It's painful sometimes, and when it
Yeah.
happens in a big stage, you got to regroup and have a lot of strength to go forward, so that the next time you're in that situation, you're not thinking about that.
Yeah.
You've moved past it. Not easy, not easy.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons, Chris, I have so much respect for tennis players. There's two types of people: the person that makes an error, makes a mistake, loses, and they just cook in it, and they keep
Yeah,
reliving it and keep reliving it. And then there's the other person. Okay, I made a mistake, I made an error, or I lost. I'm moving forward. That's it. I mean, the mental toughness is so it's at another level in tennis. And Chris, mental toughness when it's so hot out, and you said the matches, you know, 4 or 5, it goes forever. How do they do it? Honestly, I'm
I
beyond
don't know. That's a
impressed.
good question. We've been lucky to be
Mhm.
able to see players like Federer, Nadal, Djokovic in this era. I started doing tennis in 2003. That was the year Federer came along and won his first Wimbledon. So, and Serena
Mhm.
and Venus on the women's side, others too. You just you see them grow and improve in that area. I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, I know when I started as a broadcaster, I didn't have good short-term memory loss. You make a mistake, you get pissed off, and you
Oh yeah.
learn that you can't let that affect the next call, the next play, and that's life, right? But to have that when you're younger, and there's a scoreboard there, right? Okay,
Mhm.
so I screw up. Some people are going to notice that I made a bad call. Some aren't. I'm going to know it. I'm going to try to move past it. But the scoreboard is right there
Yeah.
in sports, and everybody can see the result of your screw up. And
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
it takes a special person to do that. It takes a really kind of a mental giant, and that's the guys we're talking about. And certainly Serena's in that group, and others on the women's side too. Over the years, I worked with Chrissy Evert, who in her era was just incredibly. I mean, first of all, had incredible consistency and mental strength, and then when she did make a mistake, which was almost like, what, she missed a ball? Boom, move on and go back and just
Yeah. Yeah.
lock in. And that's what
Mhm.
life is, right? I mean, you had to do that, and I think that sport teaches us a lot of things. And I've been able to learn from a lot of really great
Mhm.
players and coaches in that area, because yeah, I used to have a bad temper and try to be a perfectionist, and you learn that
Yeah.
perfectionism is not a path to happiness,
No.
and therefore it's not a
No.
path to
No.
success. Because if you start
No.
grinding yourself on every mistake you make, how you gonna step forward, right?
Yeah, I had a conversation, Chris, this morning with a team member about this, and I said, it's interesting. This person wants to go forward and go through this 10-day meditation silent retreat that I went through called Vipassana, and there was a moment where I was getting angry and I lost my cool, and I had to be a football player, you got to have a temper. I'm sorry, but it is what it
Yeah.
is, right? But you got to be able to control it. And I was explaining to him, like, it was the bottom when I realized it was only affecting me. Like, I was the one getting beat up every time I lost my cool. I looked bad. It was negative. It wasn't productive. And I had to learn, and I've learned it through watching, being an athlete, but watching other athletes. And when you're watching these tennis players, I mean, is there I know they all have it, Chris, but is there a specific moment or player that you could think so mentally strong and you would just utterly impressed with the way they could bounce back?
Djokovic is an easy answer because he's done it for so long, but Rafa
Yeah.
Nadal is the most admired athlete I've ever covered in any sport. I think all those guys sort of have that, because you can't continue to achieve. And, you know, as many titles as they've won, they've also had, all of those guys have had crushing defeats at the ultimate match and the biggest
Mhm.
stages. Match points
Mhm.
right there lost. I mean, and you're judged by those moments for forever. So yeah, I think those people you learn a lot. Just in regular life, non-athletes and non-coaches,
Yeah.
just smart people you come across where, you talk about, fitness, and along with working out comes injuries, and along with injuries comes surgeries and PTs, and those things have been great teachers for me too, and patience, and just, okay, this happened, can't control it. What can I do now?
Mm.
It's cliche. People roll their eyes because they think it's just like psychobabble or
Yeah.
sports psychology or life psychology 101, but it's so true. If you're going to marinate in something and whine about it, even silently to yourself, you're not moving forward. You're not learning from it properly. You're not growing from it. And I've always believed that all experience equates to growth, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes the more unpleasant or the more intense the experience, the more the
Hmm.
opportunity for growth. Again, people are going to roll their eyes, but that's what life is. If you're not constantly
Hmm.
growing and
Hmm.
improving, and I want to do better this year calling games than I did last year. 62,
Yeah.
you think, okay, decline. You're later. You've already had your best years, and I don't think so. You work with people every day at your job and in the business world. You just never feel like you've got it right.
Hmm.
You've got to improve and you've got to get better. And
Yeah.
to me, striving, the strain that goes with it, is super fulfilling, and that's what to me equals happiness is the constant motivation to do better.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine what it looks like. You're always trying to do better, Chris. Like what's what we see on TV is wonderful, but what goes on behind the scenes? What does a day look like for you when you're preparing, or when you're leading up to game week
Yeah,
or a match? And I just want to hear a little bit about that, and then get into your fitness routine, because you
sure.
don't show up looking like RoboCop, right?
uh, hey man, I just trying to slow the decline at this point. I'm happy to. I love talking about that. I like fitness at 60 plus is something that I'm happy to talk about. No, I think that you do need to embrace the grind. I mean, I'm speaking to someone that does that every day. It's not a job that I you know hate going to. So when I'm in my hotel
Mhm.
room, or I'm in out here in the mountains in Colorado with the season approaching, I'm going to start to prepare and get ready, and there's joy in that for me. And so thankfully, I'm not showing up undercooked because it's all about the 4 hours on air. No, it's about getting ready, about studying the tape, studying the notes, learning the roster, hearing from the players and the coaches. That to me is one of the most joyful parts of the job, is hearing these players tell their
Mhm.
story, looking them in the eye. What do you think about this
Mhm.
opportunity in this game? Like, how are you, how are you embracing this moment, this opportunity? And so all that stuff is preparation. You step in, you get ready. And I study a ton of data and analytics and stuff like that. You don't let the game get swallowed up by that, but you want to be prepared, and then you learn how to use your time more efficiently. So you hopefully can do better prep in fewer hours, because there's
Mhm.
there's more and more on your platter that comes along,
Mhm.
and I think that if people view preparation for anything as a chore, as a pain in the ass, as a box to check, they're not going to do it as well as if they really embrace that part of it as an integral part of the job, but also a part that brings you joy, not just the moments when everybody's looking at you. It's what you do in the
Yeah.
dark, um,
Oh, yeah.
that I think really
Oh, yeah.
defines how well you're going to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what you do in the dark. So it's usually not that dark out in Miami, but what you do in the light is usually your training. And I'm going to tell a quick intro story. Uh, I firmly, like, we don't have it all, but we have a lot of great equipment at every location. And I get a request from Chris. Hey, I'd like to put in a request for a piece of equipment. I said, sure, that'd be great. He wants boxes to jump on. I said, okay, but I'll beat you to it because we have boxes. And he says, well, I want the high boxes to stack them. And I said, okay, how high
Let's
do you
not
need
get
them?
crazy. I'm not jumping 60 inches over there. Let's just.
How high do you need it? I think you said 60 inches. And I was like, really? I say, I give it to step my game up. I mean, I don't even know what this guy's doing if he's jumping on. And by the way, I did see you on jumping on a high box. I didn't know if it was 60, but it was
No,
very high.
no. For me,
So,
at 38 inches is high. We all have our little benchmarks. that's laughable for a lot of the dudes who train in your gym. But yeah, I'm just trying to hold on to every fast twitch fiber that I've got at this point. I used to have some balance, and I used to have a little speed when I was younger. But as we get older, that goes pretty quick. And I did some stupid ass training, narrow-minded training for decades, and only through being exposed to some smart people and having to bounce back from injuries and listening to really smart physical therapists and trainers who had a much broader perspective than I had when I was bro lifting, beating myself up for a long time. Bro lifting for like civilians, not what you guys do in football, but and then I love to jump. Nothing gets more comments, whether it's at your place or other places I train when I'm not in Miami. Nothing gets more like quizzical looks like, what is this guy doing over there, than jumping on boxes. Because I think that, I don't know why, but people think that's just beyond at a certain point. I'm telling you, like, I get so inspired by seeing people that are obviously in their 70s or older. Maybe it's a 20-inch box, whatever they can do, but they're getting off the floor and they're landing. And I'll just stop and watch them for a second and go, that's goals right there. I don't ever want to get to the point where I feel like I got to surrender. I got to stop trying to run a little bit fast. I'm not saying sprint, because nobody really sprints other than sprinters. We're striding. But you're running 75% of your speed, and you're doing, standing broad jumps, and you're doing plyometric stuff. And I see a lot of people at Anatomy there who are really really do stuff like that. So that gets me going and keeps me going. And then I see what good it does me, right? And then I didn't stretch for a long time. Stretching, mobility, all the things that people undervalue when they're younger, because it's easy for them to just go in and do it without really warming up and stretching. Now my wife goes, "What are you doing there for like 2.5 hours?" Well, I mean, like the first 45, I'm just like getting the diesel engine warmed up, and then whether it's taking a cold plunge before a workout or stretching, mobility, band work, because my shoulders are trashed, and I've repaired them with stem cell shots. But part of that is doing a lot of stuff daily to get the blood flow before you even think about doing weighted pull-ups or heavier benching. So I think that's what I mean about being our physical abilities go down, right? And decline is inevitable. I just say to myself, not today. You're not declining today from yesterday or tomorrow. And if you can think of the very small, I believe in just very small goals, like day by day. If you can do what you did yesterday and then do it again tomorrow, then you're going to decline inevitably, but you're going to do it maybe more on your terms. And you're going to listen to smart people, and you're going to do that the right way, so that you're not being reckless. Because you know what it's like, man. People are going to see what you do and go, that rowing machine, that's psychic, that's psychotic. You're going to break yourself down. Yeah, but you know yourself, and you know what you can do, and you know that you go here today, there tomorrow, and instead of declining, you're getting better. That's so inspiring to me. So having some control over physical performance as you age is cool for me. And it's easier to be stronger when you're older, when you weren't strong when you're young. You're not going to be probably physically stronger than you were when you were that's impossible if you were an elite athlete at that point. But when you're just a regular dude, you can still get better as you get older. I could come back from surgeries where the pec tendons ripped off the bone on one side, happens again on the other side, more surgery, more rehab, and come back and still be stronger in those lifts than I was before, because I was never a beast at that point. So, that to me is what it is. And like I said, I love doing it. So it's not like, oh shit, I got to go to the gym and I got to do the grind. We all have days where you don't feel as inspired as other days, but in general, I love doing it.
So are you a everyday guy, 5 days a week, 6 days a week? Do you mix in the yoga and the mobility? How do you do it?
Yeah, I can't lift compound lifts. I used to do it a lot. I used to do probably 5-6 days a week. That's where some of the injuries happened, because that's just not sensible as you get into 40s, 50s, late 50s, 60 plus. So I'll still lift heavy, because I still get a lot of joy about that. That's like, there's no substitute for moving weight and being able to do I can still, put 450 in a deadlift bar and do it, which I'm very proud of. And I don't squat on the back anymore, but I'll do pitch sharp, which your place has, and I'll find other ways to still move weight, which for me is heavy, and it feels great to do that. So I'll do that max about 3 days a week. I'll push the sleds, which are weighted, which is a hell of a workout, especially at your place, outdoors with the AstroTurf,
Oh
little
my
sticky,
gosh.
the humidity, and it's slightly uphill. And
That's
I'm all
right.
the things like you get in your head, and yet I'm stacking as many damn plates in that thing as pushing it as far as I can without collapsing. That's still fun, but yeah, mobility. I don't love like long cardio, so I try to find ways to train in zone 2. And I'm out here in the mountains, and I will run on the trails out here and hike and climb at altitude, which is a hell of a workout. But I'm not a go run every day guy, or I have spin bikes, and I'll use that when there's no other option for cardio. But but I think you said yoga. I wish I were better at it, but I do stretch and move and do functional stuff. And like I said, plyometrics are non-negotiable. I will do plyo once. I probably should do it twice a week in some form, because again, smart people have told me you lose it at this age. Good luck trying to get it back. So I turn to Instagram, and now my feed is dominated by how to fix frozen shoulders, mobility. You're surrounded by information. You just sift through it and figure out what works. So you can tell me what I'm doing wrong and what I'm doing right next time I see you down there. But like I said, it just feels good to be able to move. And an unhappy day for me is a sedentary day. And as long as I'm up and moving and feeling the sun on my face and getting the heart and the lungs working and the legs going, that's probably a pretty good day for me. If I could do that every day and just keep going as long as I can.
I love it. I love it. How about the nutrition? Are you all over your nutrition as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's part of it. I definitely eat and drink smarter. I love my tequila and mezcal. That is a lot. It's about better for you, as you come to find out, than brown liquor and a bottle of red wine a day and beer. So that's been part of it. Nutrition. I'm not like a count my macros kind of guy. I've never found that. I've known plenty of bodybuilders and guys that train like bodybuilders, even though they're not. All credit to them. That to me isn't a happy place to be. So I'm not going to have my Tupperware and count every gram of protein that I have. I just know what I need. So I do creatine. I make sure I get my protein. I really recover well. I believe in some of the things that are prevalent down there in South Florida, which all the people at your gym that have some time and money on their hands got an IV bag in their arm every day, getting something. I do that in moderation. I have jumped into the peptides world because it's been suggested to me by a lot of people for a lot of years, and now in conjunction with the stem cell shots, which I could have had shoulder replacement surgery on both sides. That's how wrecked they are. Labrum, cuff, everything's trash. And I became a pincushion for a while, found the best guy I could, bombarded these shoulders with needles, like 20 needles per session, 3 sessions per shoulder. That's a lot of injections, and it's a lot of discomfort. But it was a great mental exercise, just like all the PT that I've done, all the training sessions that I've done where you've really been pushed have all been educational experiences. And so I just decided that, I'm going to embrace some of this stuff that I resisted, because if smart people tell me that it all works together, I would never take anabolics. I don't take testosterone therapy. I don't judge anybody that does that at my age, because down there where we are, everybody's being bombarded with ideas. You got to do this, and all your friends are on TRT, and now you got. I don't want to get into that world at this point, but I believe in supplements and trying to give yourself the best odds of holding on to what you got and improving. So I do eat well. I eat clean, but I'm not a fanatic about it. I also, I'm always going to have my desserts and have my cheat meals.
Yeah, good for you. I heard it here first, everyone. So, Chris, you've been super, super generous with your time, and I really appreciate it. Last question: there's someone coming up, maybe who knows? They could be high school, college, and they're aspiring. Like my friend Pete, they're all trying to be Chris Fowler or get into this world, and you're going to give them some advice on the come up and how to go about it. What would you share with them to try to enlighten them and give them your perspective on the journey?
Make sure you love the journey and not the idea of the journey. I think in life, there are people that they love the idea of being a doctor, being an
Mm-hmm.
NFL player, or doing what I do, but they don't understand that the reality, how hard that is, and what goes into it. They're not willing to pay the price. I'm not going to
Yeah.
over dramatize the price that you pay to do what I do, but
Mm-hmm.
it is years and years on the grind, and also having that
Mm-hmm.
attitude that you always need to improve and get better. I mean, balancing the ego that it takes to go in front of people and talk on a microphone or anything that they're doing, but also the humility to do the grind and do the work and know that you're not a finished product. And also in
Mm-hmm.
terms of what I do, and I think what the world you're in, and for most people, authenticity works. Inauthenticity over time always gets found out. You're trying to be somebody you're not.
Yeah.
You're trying to take on a persona. If I'm going to go into the booth and try to be someone else because I want that big touchdown call, that viral clip that's going to live for 15
Mm-hmm.
seconds on every platform, the House of Highlights is going to love me. That's not authentic.
Yeah.
That's not me anyway. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
over time, just being yourself and understanding how to find your voice and how to trust your own voice, because people are going to give you a lot of bad advice. Even well-intentioned
Mm-hmm.
people who love you, who want the best for you. I could go on and on about this. I took the path less traveled a couple of times. You think, ESPN, the obvious place. No, no. There are a lot of twists and turns in everybody's life. It's never a linear path. So if you know yourself well and you love yourself and you learn to trust yourself, then you can cut out the static that's around us all the time. That
Mm-hmm.
you're getting bombarded on this phone and everywhere else from people with what you
Yeah.
should do and what you shouldn't do. The more you know yourself and trust your inner voice and your gut, again, that's a cliche, but because it's true. Going back to the Stoics thousands of years ago, that is the secret. Be authentic, trust yourself,
Yeah.
and follow your own voice through life, because um, it's going to take you places you never expected, for better or worse. Nobody's path is easy.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's path is smooth and linear. And when you hit those bumps and those curves and those forks in the road, are you equipped to deal with it? Have you done
Mm-hmm.
the work? Have you been on the grind? Have you
Right.
learned yourself well? Have you
Mm-hmm.
have you have you trusted the right people? But mostly, have you trusted yourself? Are you ready for that moment and that choice that's going to define what happens
Mm-hmm.
next? Right. That's a lot of stuff, but
Yeah. No, that was very well said. Terrific advice. I can't thank you enough. This has been just awesome, Chris. Thank you for your time. You're the man. If you see a bodybuilder walking around in Miami, it's probably Chris Fowler. And be on the lookout for a 60-inch box jump.
yeah, shit. I'm just trying to do 38 for life. That's my goal, man. I appreciate you do this really well. It's
You
fun.
got
I
it.
enjoyed it a lot. Continue success
Yeah.
with this. I will see you back down there, and you can count on me leaning on you for some guidance and advice in this world, because I need as many smart, educated people around me in this world as I can. So,
It'd be my pleasure. You're the man, Chris. Thank you so much.
bet,
Keep
Mark.
at it and look forward to watching college football this year. Thanks so
Thanks, brother.
much.
Be well.